There's a consilience. It turns out that the fossils match the biochemical and genetic tests. And this, you have this richly branching bush here. Transitional fossils, there's tons of them. It looks more and more like a lot of these different species, such as Sahelanthropus chidensis, 6 to 7 million years ago. This was found in 1991. Australopithecus africanus, 3 to 4 million years ago. This is Kenanthropus Platyops, which was discovered in 1992, 3.5 million years ago. The famous Lucy, 3.2 million years ago. The beauty of Lucy is that you can sit there and hold in your hand, and if you're in Don Johnson's lab, you can. A chimp pelvis and hip socket, a Lucy pelvis and hip socket, and a modern one. You can see the beautiful transition there from quadrupedalism to bipedalism. And this is not the only one. Don't think Lucy's the only fossil they got. They got dozens of these Australopithecines now. Homo habilis, 1.9 million years ago. Homo georgicus from Georgia in Russia, 1.8 million years ago, discovered in 2001. Homo erectus, 1.5 million years ago. Homo neanderthalensis, 500,000 years ago. Neanderthals and us, we lived simultaneously over the last 100,000 years. What happened to those guys? That's them on the right, that's us on the left. What happened to them 30, 40,000 years ago? Gone. Interesting subject, not for tonight, but it's an interesting subject. What happened to those guys? And most recently, just discovered by Tim White and published last year, Homo sapiens idolitu. It looks like the best evidence we have now. Every single one of us from everywhere on the planet comes from a single population of hominids out of Africa. It's these guys, 160,000 years ago. That's the best evidence we have today. This incredible diversity of humans we have around the globe all evolved in this relatively short period of time, very rapid changes. Additional tests. We would expect modern organisms to show a variety of structures, from simple to complex, reflecting evolutionary history. For example, the eye has evolved numerous times with varying complexity. And again, it's not a single intelligently designed structure that works across the board, which you would expect an all-powerful intelligent designer to create. In fact, what you see are these sort of oddities of nature that evolved with whatever was available in the environment, with whatever they had to work with. Eyes have evolved independently dozens of times. In fact, you would also expect biological structures, if evolution were true, to show history. Not intelligent design, but history. Take our own eye. Just take the structure of the retina with the rods and cones on top, amacrine cells, bipolar cells, and ganglion cells, but it's upside down. This is the weirdest thing. It's upside down. The light comes in this direction and doesn't get to only about 10% of the photons get all the way back to the light-sensitive rods and cones. What was Id thinking when he made this thing? Right? I mean, he wasn't thinking, because there is no intelligent designer from top down. It's a designer from the bottom up, a tinkerer using with whatever materials are available. We would expect organisms that share most of their DNA to look a lot alike. In fact, they do. And to behave alike. In fact, they do. Chimpanzees are very tribal. You may have noticed from recent current events in politics, we're very tribal, right? There's a whole series of these similarities across species. Is there enough time for evolution to work? You bet. Not only has every human come from a single population out of Africa 160,000 years ago, every single dog alive today comes from a single population of wolves only 15,000 years ago. Of course, this is partly directed evolutionary change, of course, but it shows how rapid DNA sequences can be manipulated. As a test of evolutionary theory, I would love to see a creationist just once come up with a fossil bed that shows trilobites and in the same bedding plane, hominids. You never see trilobites with hominids. Now, creationists will say something like, well, there was this hydrodynamic sorting in the flood, and all the stupid beasties died and fell through in the flood and drowned early, and the smarter ones climbed to the higher hills, something like that. Not one smart trilobite managed to make it up with the hominid. Not one trilobite was in the pocket of the hominid, and he managed to survive. Not one. Of course, with evolution, we would predict that this is what you would find, these sequential bedding planes with different fossils in the beds, and that is what you find. But in any case, it's a testable hypothesis. It's an experiment you can run. Instead of reading creationist literature, go out and start digging. And if you find something like this, that would be the kind of evidence that would overturn the theory of evolution. We also see homologies, that is, common anatomical structures due to common ancestry. Most of you have seen these things, the similarity between the whale arm and the human arm, similarities between whale structures and even hummingbird structures, similarities between our arm and whale arms. If God created the whale flipper, why did he use a mammalian arm structure for it? Why didn't he just make it like a fish flipper? The fish flipper works great. Why have marine mammals swim like this, whereas fish swim like this? Swimming like this is really more efficient. It's a better way. It's the original way. If God created fish this way, why not marine mammals this way? Marine mammals swim this way because that's how land mammals run. That's how their spines move as they propel themselves forward. Vestigial structures are also very telling. For example, we have discovered now a snake, an ancestral snake here, with hind legs. Why would snakes have hind legs? And why would snakes today, as well as whales, show these vestigial legs? These legs are absolutely worthless today. They don't do anything. Why would an intelligent designer design this really clumsy, unintelligent, historical-looking thing, unless you want to impute to God or to Satan that he's just testing our faith by throwing those things in there to see if that'll confuse you with the facts, okay? Other than that, this is a sign of history and evolutionary sequence, not intelligent design. So a fundamental question then, wrapping it up, I think I got 2 minutes here. Is the universe designed? Back in the 18th century when Darwin was studying, the answers were yes by William Paley. A watch must have a watchmaker, to which David Hume encountered this old argument, no, actually nature resembles a mindless organism. I think this is not quite right. In fact, I think a better question is the universe naturally or intelligently designed? It's obviously designed to a certain extent, right? But it's historically designed. It looks kind of clumsily designed. So to the answer of where did this come from, for creationists, they offer a supernatural explanation. Right here, a miracle happened. I think you need to be more explicit in step 2 there. In a way, this is no different than a Gary Larson cartoon. God makes the snake. Boy, these things are a cinch. I really fail to see, honestly, how this is any different than any creationist argument I have ever heard. A miracle happened. That's it. Naturalism's answer, evolution or descent with modification, of course, is slightly different. We see a sequence, historical sequence. Well, Darwin wasn't the last, but... Okay, so finally then, how do we get these complex structures out of here? Oh, my time is up. All right. Let me just wrap up here then, just one final comment. If humans were designed by God or intelligent designer, this is what we would look like. Instead, and I'll go through the details of that in a second, instead if humans were designed by evolution, this is what the case would be. And as you know, guys,